I'm the author of GetYourChildIntoGAT.com, and this is Test Prep 101, where I cover the core skills, why they're important, and how to teach them. The first core skill is to be baffled. When your child is taking a cognitive skills test, they're going to see a multi-step problem that is new and different, that you haven't done 72 times before, and you don't immediately know the answer. This is probably the most important skill for children who are stepping out of schoolwork into cognitive skills work, and I'll show you why. In schoolwork, you see things like 3 plus 4 equals blank, okay? And of course, presumably your child is 4 or 5 years old when you get to this. This problem is straightforward. It's one step, and they learn it. If they are stuck, they can ask a question and get help, and they practice it. Whereas on a cognitive skills test, and this example is actually competitive math, but it fits on my screen, you might see something like apple plus 3 equals blank plus 5. Many parents complain or reach out for help because their child looks at a cognitive skills problem for the first time and breaks down crying. That's a child that needs to become acclimated to the confusion of these problems. The second core skill is to read the question, and this is involved. Read it a few times. In doing so, it should tax working memory if it's a good question. There's parts to the question, there's oddities, there's things that might stand out, there's relationships. And if you struggle for lack of working memory, which is generally built up for the first time doing cognitive skills work, your child may end up having to read it one word at a time or one shape at a time. Let's go back to those problem examples. This first problem, 3 plus 4 equals blank plus 5. A problem of this nature was given to fourth graders buried in a simple arithmetic exam, and 95% of these fourth graders ignored the plus 5 and wrote 7 down as an answer. Okay, with cognitive skills tests, reading the question goes beyond what you see at the top and includes the answer set. Now here's the other example, apple plus 3 equals blank plus 5, where apple is a whole number, okay? And this answer set is part of the question. So in this case, you can try 5, 7, and 9, and you can't find a whole number for apple. The answer is it has to be even. Okay, the third core skill is to check the answer. You check the answer because you got the last 10 wrong if you're doing the right level of cognitive skills work. Parents have reached out to me going into the test because their child is getting more than half of the questions wrong and they have to take the test in a few days. This is par for the course. We generally work with material at an error rate of at least 50%. And I've designed a whole series of questions where it's almost guaranteed you're going to get the wrong answer on the first try. So the child should be living in fear that this one is wrong too. Not to mention this skill is worth 15 points on any test, any standardized test. This skill is worth 15 points on the SAT. So check the answer is a big one and should be part of your cognitive skills regimen. Like the child who breaks down crying when they are baffled because the question is new and they've never seen it before. The other major problem is the child gets it wrong and the result is tears. Well, wrong should be the new normal. The brain is in overdrive on wrong in a way that never happens when the child gets the answer correct. Mistakes are where learning happens. And the best way to encourage this learning is to give them work that they have to try a couple of times to get the right answer. The act of solving and resolving the problem is where the brain grows. As soon as you check the solution, learning generally comes to an abrupt halt. So get it wrong is important. These are the 4 skills that you should work on as an academic coach when you're sitting with your child working on cognitive skills questions. I'm going to give some examples here so that we can practice being baffled, reading the question, checking the answer, and getting it wrong, and I can show you what to do. This question is from Test Prep Math Level 2, 3rd edition. I picked a word problem because if you have one of the Test Prep math books and you see 3rd edition, You're also going to see there's a whole section in here with quantitative problems. In fact, these are generally 3 or 4 problems built into one, and it's the word problems that teach these core skills to get you to the point where you do these. I'm going to cover visual spatial sub-skills in another video. So let's look at question 35. Yanni's grandmother came to visit from Romania for 3 weeks. When she visits, she sleeps in his bedroom and he sleeps under the dining room table. Yanni counts the days until he gets to sleep in his bed. 5 days after his grandmother arrived, how many more days does he have to sleep under the dining room table? And I can almost guarantee when the child gets to that question mark, the child has no idea how to solve it and has to start over from Yanni's grandmother came to visit from Romania for 3 weeks. This particular problem is only 2-step. So 3 times 7 is 21. Subtract 5 and you get the answer. That's because the next problem is super hard and has more than 3 steps, and I needed this problem to set up the plot. The bonus question, what is Yanni sleeping on, requires some decisiveness, which is an important sub-skill, and where parents can undermine the learning process. So the child is going to look at this and have absolutely no idea what Yanni's sleeping on. It might require a trip to the dining room table, some creativity, but it's definitely going to require the child to make a decision. Is it an old mattress that fits under the dining room table, a couple of couch cushions, a sleeping bag? It's up to the child, and it's an open-ended question. In math, between 1st and 4th or 5th grade, there's almost no open-ended questions that require some decisiveness, and it appears that decisiveness really counts on cognitive skills tests. Which brings us to question 36. Yanni's grandmother wakes up every morning at 4 a.m. to make chimney cakes. Okay. I guess we should probably skip over to a map and find out where Romania is. Then take a look at a chimney cake. This looks to me like an 8-layer chimney cake. Let's go back to the problem. So she wakes up at 4 a.m. to make chimney cakes. Her chimney cakes each have 6 layers. If she made 4 chimney cakes on Monday and 3 chimney cakes on Tuesday, and Yanni's family ate 5 chimney cakes on Tuesday night, how many chimney cakes will she have to make on Wednesday so that there are 24 layers when Yanni wakes up on Wednesday morning? That question, slightly baffling, but we're on questions 35 and 36. The child should be over this. It's definitely going to require reading the question a couple of times, and here's where working memory comes in. You can't solve this at once. In fact, you can't read it 2 or 3 times and get through it all because there's too much going on. As the child builds working memory, there's probably 3 buckets that can appear. 4 is rare. I think 3 is a good standard, where they can keep the numbers in their brain while they're calculating it. And it's in doing so that really nifty sub-skills are going to emerge on their own. The biggest challenge when we do these problems, in fact, it's behind the design of almost every one of these questions, is to get to the 3 operations point and build that working memory. Okay. With the different operations that have to take place and the converting of cakes to layers and back, a wrong answer is almost guaranteed the first time, and checking the answer is going to be important. In fact, checking the answer might involve drawing a picture. I generally use pictures when the child is frustrated and doesn't know what to do, because having them draw a picture might help them organize the problem, but it takes their mind off of their troubles and gives them a break while they solve it. So, as an academic coach, you don't answer questions. You don't explain this to your child. You don't want to teach the child anything. You want the child to take however long it takes, 10, 15 minutes, to figure out the problem and explain it to you. And that's how I approach these questions in test prep math. And that's how I approach these questions in building thinking skills. Although that example I gave you with the map, you have to take a break and explore north, south, east, and west with younger children. So those are the core skills. The reason why you care about these core skills is because these are the things that are going to save your child when they see a question you've never anticipated and it never came up during test prep. In my next video, we're going to delve into visual spatial skills and look at those types of problems. But that's enough for today.